All right, we're live. It's Android Coliseum. We're June 9th today. It's a Monday. It's muggy outside, and it's our Android Coliseum Hangout number 82. And we're actually just gonna dive in very shortly. But here I have myself. I have Ryan and Tom. How you guys doing?
Awesome.
Hey,
Excellent.
it's a Monday.
Yeah, definitely. So we're gonna start with one of our main topics. It's the release of 443. Ryan, what do you think?
Uh, well, you know me, I'm not a waiter, especially when it comes to something the bigger updates. So I went ahead and flashed it immediately. I don't know if it really did that much difference. I mean, I know we see a little difference in the dialer. Uh, I want to say the camera is different, but that's more of the app itself than it is the firmware. But what I have noticed is that my camera is a little bit slower. I know, like if I turn my phone on and I load up the camera.
It's taking its sweet time.
That's actually not too bad. I mean, there has been times where it is quite a delay. Not a painful delay, but it's one of those noticeable, like, hey, well, normally you go.
Yeah.
So, I've had some issues. I don't know whether that's just because it's in the first couple of days of it actually rolling out and still getting the bugs out, and I've switched back and forth between Art or Dalvik. But mine got really hot, the battery got really weird, but it's been okay for the past couple of days, so.
I have to say the battery got weird for the first 48 hours where I went from like 90% and it just dropped down to 10%. No idea what happened there. I just put it back on the charger, forgot it for a couple of hours, came back to it, everything was normal, but it hasn't been too bad so far.
Now, are you running it on like a CyanogenMod? Like I think you're running Cyanogen.
Yeah,
right?
I'm running CM11 with their 443 nightlies that they have right now. So it's running good. I mean, I haven't noticed any problems. Just a bit with the dialer at first because I was using a theme, so the dialer just kept crashing all the time.
Mm.
So, but got that fixed. The developer made an update for the theme, but it's working good so far. Outside of that, I haven't really noticed anything from 442 to 443 besides the dialer.
It's not a big difference. And I laughed because people were talking about. Well, we were all making fun of iOS 8 when it came out, and everybody's like, "Oh, look at small little incremental changes." And then I kind of went all batshit crazy about 4.4.3, going, "Oh, gotta get it now, gotta get it now." And I'm like, "Oh, we really are getting like that." But I mean, to be honest with you, what's really nice about it though, versus an iOS version, is that it doesn't take very long for us to flash it. Like, really, and it's been a while since I've manually flashed an update on my phone. But I was able to. I had to go back and look at all my instructions, and I made a post while I was writing it. So I had to. Oh yeah, that do fast boot. Okay, then I do. Oh yeah, this, and all that aside, it still took me most 20 minutes, and it flashed.
Mm-hmm. I'm happy that Cyanogen has just included an update directly within their system, so it just tells me and it just does it. So I'm like, you know what? Washing my hands, done.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna go with iOS 8 that came out, and that was an interesting show, and we're gonna let Tom talk about that one.
So yeah, Tim Cook comes out, announces the iOS 8, and starts bashing Android. And I think the comment he made was something like over 50% of Androids are running software that's like 3 or 4 years old, which is utter bullcrap. I think Ryan actually posted an article proving him wrong, because Ryan's our graph guy, and so he had the physical proof and numbers to say you're a liar. And so basically all these new features they came out with were things that we've been enjoying on Android for a long time. Same thing happened with iOS 6 and 7. They're just slowly migrating, and eventually iPhone will be running Android. It's that simple. So, I mean, I'm not really going to get too much into the details, but they got some interesting swipe down to lower your email and, you know, kind of do other projects on the side. Did you know your Gmail can do that right now? Have a look. It's interesting. So, I mean, all these little things that just they're copying, but they're adding their own 10% flavor of their own style, kind of putting the wool sheep cover over people's eyes, saying, "Oh, this is ours," but with a little paint job on it. Right, so I mean that's really all I have to say about the whole iPhone thing. I'm sure you guys got some more to add to that.
You know, I was watching it, and a couple of things that he was saying on stage that, oh, we got this new feature, nobody else has it, we're just coming out with it right now, and I'm going to myself, look at that, it's a widget on the screen. wow, I've had that for the last 4 years on my Android. What a concept.
But it's not even a real widget.
No, I know,
It's a
right?
very specific placeholder on it. Anyways, yeah, I mean, we can get all upset about the fact that it's a lot of copying. I mean, there is one stat we do have to take with a grain of salt. The fact that they do say they sold, I mean, how many millions of iPhone 5s's last year, and for a lot of people, there was a lot of people who just bought the 5 and went to the 5S or whatever, upgraded to that. But there are a lot of people that did switch from Android back to, let's say, iPhone. So, and I know when I was working in a place that sold phones, and people were talking about when they switched from an iPhone to an Android, they were saying stuff like, "Oh, I've seen my friend's Android that has this cool new feature. I can get a cool keyboard, or I can get widgets, or I can share to Instagram or whatever, app without having to go to that app. I can just share. That's kind of cool. I like that feature. So I'm going to Android, or I want the bigger screen, so I'm going to Android." So I'm kind of wondering, should we be afraid of the fact that because maybe Android did pick up some iOS users who got tired of not having certain features. Now that those features are now included in iOS, do we think that there's going to be many people that were iOS users who switched to Android would switch back now that they have those features natively?
Honestly, probably not, because now they are at the point where they've been using an Android device for a year, some of them 2 years, and they've noticed that, oh my god, I can just go online, go to my favorite comic place, and oh, look at that, it's actually streaming live from the web, and I don't have to download it. Or another feature is I'm actually changing all the icons on my desktop, and I can't do that on my iOS 7 right now, or even iOS 8. So they're just like small little things that actually people don't think about. Later on, they realize, oh, I'm missing this. I want it back. And that's just the way it is. You'll always have people switching or flip-flopping between both, and that's always the way it's going to be. It all depends on what you want, really. It comes down to personal preference. Do you want an Apple? Do you want an Android? Just pick one.
And I find funny is what it comes down to in a lot of cases. It comes down to the price. A lot of people look at it and go, well, I want the free phone. And chances are, whatever this new Apple phone is going to be, whether it's going to be the one that's going to offer you a larger size, there's no way that they're going to offer something larger than a 5S and it's going to be the same price.
And from what I was looking at, it's looking to be $399.99 on a 2-year contract.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's if we can believe rumors and stuff like that. But yeah, it's,
And
I don't know.
it's a steep price for somebody that just wants a phone, right? So I can understand why people would say, hey, I can have this great phone here for $99. Okay, I'll go for that. They're in a 2-year contract. They know in 2 years they're going to buy a new one. There you go, done. And
Well,
you've got...
especially case in point, my wife, who we updated her phone recently, and we looked at on all the phones, and I said, well, here's the Galaxy S5. Here's here's the HTC M8. Here's these phones, these nice flagship of the Nexus 5. Which one do you think you'd want to get? And she looked at it and I like those, but the S4 was like $40 or something. And she's like, for her, it's like she didn't really see the difference of paying for a flagship price. For her, it came down to there's a couple other features, but a big purchasing decision one was the fact that it was $40 on the contract.
Yeah, and I can understand that. A lot of people the market tend to forget that a lot of the people are on the mid-class range. They're not going to go for the high end, but they're not going to go for the lower end. And a lot of the phones are not mid-class range. Like right now, if you look at it, you've got the bottom end and the top end, and there's not a whole lot of choices in the middle.
Yeah, that's where those S3 minis and S4 minis and those guys come into play, the HTC One mini and stuff like that.
Exactly. The next thing we have on the agenda tonight is OK Google is being introduced, third-party APIs, so all these new different launchers are going to start to come out with the OK Google feature. But prior to that, the only way you could do it is either if you were using the actual Google launcher or the exposed framework. And now, Nova Launcher was actually one of the first few guys that actually introduced the feature directly built in their launcher, so you don't need extra launcher, or you don't need extra exposed framework. Everything works from there, and you can just do as you would normally do. OK Google, give it your command, send a text, open a browser link, open an app. So it, all in all, it works even better as it is now, so that you can actually just use whatever you want for your launcher. You don't have to be stuck to a specific platform, which is pretty cool.
Well, I guess it's to me because I've never really played with other launchers. I just love the Google Experience launcher. Um, and I guess what was really cool was the fact that let's say if you are using the HTC One M8 or the Galaxy S5, but you want OK Google, that nice little blink, like it tells you it's listening. You couldn't get that on those devices. So being able to actually have that without having to root or do some sort of exposed module, it's kind of cool to have that built in.
Yeah,
that is the coolest thing I can show people to say, and I just love pulling it anytime I get a chance. Well, I don't know, how far is it there? I don't know. Okay, Google, how far is it to North Bay?
Drive from your location to North Bay is 1,136.0 kilometers.
Exactly.
I just love being able to show off how that works. It's kind of cool. And I guess being able to bring that to more and more devices, because you go into a store and look at anyone on the shelf, the only one that does is the Nexus.
Yep. And you know as well as I do, I customize everything on my phone. I mean, even Tom, I keep sending screen captures to Tom all the time. And the fact that I can just have the screen I want and just say, OK, Google, and it's just going to start doing and call up my stuff on the screen. So I'm like, that works for me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's move on. We're going to go with the Google Play TV for Canadians, and that's something that a lot of people will like, but right now, you actually have to pay for each of your show package, which kind of sucks, versus if you're using Netflix. What do you think on that one, Ryan?
I think you hit it right there. I'm on Netflix, so I prefer to watch my shows on Netflix. I really don't watch much TV. I'm not the average use case scenario here because I've actually been cutting back more and more of my TV watching. But there's two things I like about the fact that it's on in Canada now. So first off, we can now have access to it. That's one more barrier down for us having the full Google suite. All we have to do is just wait for Google Voice. Oh, and Wallet. Those are the other two things. Other than that, we have the full Google suite. We would be all the same as our American counterparts.
Yeah.
The second thing I do like about it is that TV shows tend to come on there sooner than they would, let's say, on Netflix. So if there's a new TV series that's out, I don't even know what's a new TV series that's out right now, what people are watching. So if there's a new one, I think the episodes come to Google Play TV quicker than they would to Netflix, which usually Netflix buys the whole season at once, but it waits for the whole season to be done. You guys are talking all the TV shows you guys are watching.
Yeah, we want.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Come on, like, really?
There's some good ones out there. I mean, I'll actually just mark them to watch them later, and eventually I get to them. But yeah, no, it's a good thing for Google that they do have that for Canadians now. They'll just have to figure out if they're actually going to include that into all access or how they're going to actually roll that in. Because I definitely ain't paying $7.99 to watch an entire series of shows when I can just go over to Netflix and I actually have $7.99 and I get everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess the big advantage is that it's sooner.
That's true.
Or if you have a bunch of people over, you all want to watch a show together. Well, everybody's chipping 12 cents. We can watch this episode today instead of me PVRing it or waiting till Netflix gets it or torrent it or.
I've seen a show on the Google Play TV and movie, and it played on a Monday, and by the time I got to the Tuesday or Wednesday, it was already available. So I was like, that's pretty fast compared to what Netflix does, where you can take about 2 to 3 weeks before you see something added. All right. So we're going to go over with the Sony Smart Band and the Sony T3, which just got announced. And Ryan.
Okay, so the Smart Band, I'm not exactly 100% clear on. I mean, I've used a couple of the smart bands lately. I've used the smartwatch one. I've used the Galaxy. Smartwatch one. Tom's old one. I've used the Galaxy Gear. I've used the Gear Fit, which I gotta say I really like the Gear Fit. The smart band, but the other key about the smart band is the fact that it's just a fitness tracker. So think of the Nike Fuel Band, I think it was called, or those kind of the Force Fits or whatever. So it's just there to capture motion. Pardon?
iNike, they called it.
Yeah. Well, that's what we'll probably see coming up shortly, the new Nike one, right? So for me, that does nothing. Like, I don't really care to count my steps or see how far I've walked today. Google. I like Google Now. So at the end of every month, they tell you, oh, in May you've walked 4 hours and whatnot. So for me, I don't really need a smart band, but take a look. I know Mark's going to get one for review shortly, so he'll be able to play around with it. And I know he's more of a runner or more of a fitness guy than I am, so I'm not that excited about it. But it's available, so it's got to be good for some people, right?
Well, definitely there's a market for it.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about the whole wearables industry. I mean, I'm not a big Fitbit or smart band kind of guy. I've had the Sony Smartwatch 1, 2, currently have the Galaxy Gear, and they're kind of fun for the first month, and they kind of lose their novelty. I find not really using it anymore. When I had the Smartwatch 2 and the Galaxy Gear, I noticed at the end of the day, it was shaving off probably about 15-20% of my battery at the end of the day. Is it really worth having running 8 extensions to have all your notifications appear on your watch from your phone? It's kind of cool to show off. Go, hey guys, go click. Here's a picture, right? I mean, it's really cool to show off. And at the end of the day, it helps me at work, but I don't need it, right? So I kind of think the wearables on your wrist are more of a novelty in a niche market rather than something we're all going to adapt to.
See, and I'm going to say the opposing point of that, but I actually think it's going to change the way a lot of us react. Because like that smartwatch one I have, the years old one they're talking, people actually they love that. They're like, oh, that's cool, because like I can put my phone in my pocket and not take it out. And like I was showing somebody, and then a text message came. I was like, that's worth it right there to see the text message on your wrist and not have to get your phone out. I'm like, just because it pops up, it vibrates, you see it. And if you can see it, well, I don't have to go and read it again. I can know whether I want to respond to it right away. And for the Gear Fit, I got to say the Gear Fit is probably the best one on the market right now. I really liked how it operated in terms of the perfect amount of basic notifications and some fitness activity. And I really didn't notice any difference in battery life in what I was using. Like, the one thing I did notice on the Smartwatch 1 is if I put it into pedometer mode, the battery just died.
Mm-hmm.
But on the watch, not on the phone.
Huh.
But I'm excited to see what comes out next. I mean, there's going to be a bunch of new things. Are they going to be worth the $250, $300 of them? Probably not. But I think it's really going to start. You're going to start seeing more people look at that aspect. I've been in more industries now lately where people are getting tired of people using their phones at work.
Mm-hmm.
One of the last places I worked, we used to have staff meetings where it was phones away, tablets away, we're having a meeting. And you couldn't put it on the desk. You couldn't even put it anywhere to make you see it. So having something like that, it's like a bit of a cheater.
Mm-hmm.
All right, gotcha. All right. And what do you I don't see this going anywhere personally when it comes to these smart bands and the Fitbit. I just don't see it.
It has a market, right?
Yeah.
Go to any gym. There's a ton of people there doing stuff and buying heart rate monitor wristbands and stuff like that. So I mean, there'll be some people who buy it for sure. I can see that, but is it going to be as? But whereas I think the see my note text messages, stuff like that, I think that's going to be the important thing we start buying into.
Yeah, if it does more than just report back on how much you walk and whatnot, yes, I agree. But outside of that right now, not too sure I'm going to buy into one, but I know Andrew wants one, so it's just a matter of time before I end up having a bunch of devices here that I'm like, okay, well, we have too much. We have to get rid of some. All right, and you were wanted to talk about the Sony T3 and the new HTC One E8.
Right. So these are just two new devices that recently came out. The T3 is basically, I'll pull it up here. I gotta make sure I see what the specs were on that.
They look like they were mid-range devices.
Yeah, basically mid-range device. The T3 is the Z2 minus a bunch of features. It's got a bigger screen, but doesn't have quite the same number of specs. It wasn't exactly as flashy. But again, like you were saying earlier, Martin, that there's people paying a pretty hefty price for these flagship phones who really, there's a lot of people who just can't afford that.
No, and that's what I was saying. A lot of people are just mid-range, and they're not going to go and spend that $800 for their phone, and then they'll be more than happy and content with that $300 phone.
My wife would be happy with this T3. My parents wouldn't notice the difference between the T3 and the Z2, so other than the size. So those kinds of things I can see. The E8 was a very cool device. Everything people had ever said they didn't like about the HTC One M8, the idea of like, oh man, I really like the camera, but I can't get over the fact it's 4 ultra pixels.
Yeah.
Or as Tom says, pickles. But the fact that it now has, a 13 megapixel camera. So now you're looking at stats people can understand.
Yeah, and it almost looks like it's a beefier device than the actual M8. Like 2.3 gigahertz quad-core 801 with 2 gigs of RAM, 16 internal gigabytes of memory plus micro SD, 13 megapixel for the rear, and 5 MP in the front. I mean, and it's even more battery life than the actual M8.
Was it more there? Like, I didn't
Yeah,
realize
it's
that.
2500 if I remember for the M8.
Okay, because I thought when I looked at it, I'm like, well, it was pretty much exactly the same, but without the metal to being a heavy device. If you remember, the M8 is pretty heavy in the hand. So plastic to make it cheaper and lighter, and then you get the megapixel camera versus everything.
But it looks pretty cool. I mean, I don't know if we're going to see it in North America, but it would be nice.
If we did see it in North America, our carriers would totally take advantage of it and probably only drop it by about $75, though. They would still try and sell it for a huge amount of price, even though the manufacturer cost is probably 60% less.
Of course. They're going to try to price gouge us.
Oh, yeah.
No, the stats are all the same except for the camera and then the metal body.
Good. Well, that's good. I mean, choices, but probably not. We're probably not going to see it in Canada. Kind of too bad, but it looks pretty good. All right. So we had our own Tom here, which was a 1+1 fanatic, and from the looks of it, now Tom has a special device. So we're going to ask him if he's dropping the 1+1.
Okay, so Martin actually had a great choice of words and was a 1+1 fanatic. I spent about 2 months in the forums. We were promised all these invites and stuff, and they kept delaying. And myself and a few others got fed up and said, you know what? We're not going to be iPhone users anymore. We're not going to sit there and have you wave this phone in front of our face on the string and say, oh, you can't have this. Right? We're not doing that anymore. The time for us waiting for phones is over. Well, for me it is anyways. I bought myself the Z2. And I am extremely happy with this phone right now. I'm not going to go too much into it just because I could talk for hours about this phone. I usually try and pick apart things, and I can't find anything wrong.
It's only been a day.
I see Martin's picture there, and I'm going to let Martin get to that after my little spiel here because this is awesome what he's going to tell you later. So the 1+1, they promised invites and all this stuff, and invites actually went out just a couple days ago. And 2,000 invites went out. And what happened is about 300 people who won the contest had to wait like a month or two, finally got their invites because the device is finally ready for purchase. And about 1,700 others happened to be all new users. Everyone kept popping up on the forum saying, yay, got me an invite, see you guys. And everyone goes, oh, bull crap, you're lying. Oh no, here's my email. And shows their email, shows their username, and they're not lying. And you look at their stats, they joined a week ago, they have 17 posts, not active on the forums, and they get rewarded. And everyone like me and other people have been there for 2 months, over thousands of posts, very active members get the cold shoulder. So I started investigating, searching at everybody who made a post. I have an invite, and to prove it, every single one a new member. Going, okay, what's going on here? So I decided to say, you know what, I'm done. I post around on the OnePlus One forums, and funny thing is, it is Oppo who's making these phones. And if you mention the word Oppo, as OPPO, on the forums, they would remove your post. They don't want to be known as that. But yet they openly admit, yes, it's another company, but Oppo's funding it. It's a branch of Oppo. So, and if you even go to Oppo Mart, they're selling it there as well with the other brands, but it's also said to be like a third-party scamming site. But I mean, it looks pretty legit to me. With that aside, I just had enough. I know there's a lot of other people leaving, and it's just can't do it anymore. So moving on to away from those forums, I told the OnePlus One staff, tagging them every which way I can, you lost my review. I wanted to review the heck out of that phone. I was impressed. Now I'm going to post a review on the Z2, and I'll be smashing your phone. Smashing the past, never settling for your phone anymore. So anyways, the Z2 I'm very happy with. I'll be writing a first impression review on it within a couple of days, followed by a more detailed review later. Having owned the S5, I'll be able to have a direct relation on how it stacks up and so on and so on. Either way, I thought I've talked enough about this issue. Now for some funny news about the OnePlus One from Martin. Go ahead, Martin.
So over the weekend, I decided to troll the OnePlus One forum just because I could, and just quickly make a mock-up of a phone, and it went like wildfire with mere minutes. And I wasn't trying to do a professional sketch or anything like that of any kind. I was just trying to play around with people and see how far people would go to believe it. So I'm just going to screen share again, and this is just a really just very dunely, probably half an hour. Cut it out, make it look good, even put the proper date and time on it, and just put it in my hand, making kind of like a couple of shadows, couple of highlights there with the flash, and people went nuts. They were like, "Oh, congrats on your grab, and hope you like it. Tell us how you feel about it." And then you've got a whole bunch of other people that just started to flame, saying it's fake, it's hacked, and whatever else. So by the time we got to the fourth page, I just told everybody, I'm like, you know what? It's complete bull. It's just made up. And there you go, and it went on for a couple more pages afterward. So it's kind of funny and pissed off a couple of people, and that's where we're at now.
But there's more to it than that. And the part that he's not telling you, and him and I are in the same boat in this one, when you get a phone and you purchase the OnePlus One, you'll get 3 invites to invite friends.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you can imagine, Martin got spammed with a whole bunch of private messages about, oh, this happened, that happened, I really need a phone, yada, 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 sap story until, the wolves cry. And
Exactly.
yeah, and I got the same thing, saying, I'm done, I'm leaving the forums. People assume, oh, he got his phone. So I got tons of private messages saying, well, I have to go to Dubai, I have to get my dad out of jail, and I need a phone that's going to be unlocked. It's like, then go to Craigslist, buy a Nexus. You don't need this OnePlus One, right? And I got so many sap stories. It was just like, violin, right?
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was funny as heck, and I give Martin kudos, for his 15-minute sketch job. He kept sending me little pictures here and there. How's it looks? Well, there's a little iffy, so he'd patch it up here and there, and then he sent it to the forums, and I was very silently laughing away as people freaking out.
Yeah, we had a good time on the weekend for that.
Yes.
All right.
Nice.
So now, if we keep going to what we got on the agenda, we've got the review that's going to be coming up by Tom for the Sony Z2, and his experience between the S5 and the Z2 is going to be interesting to see. And we've got
I'll be really interested to see what you think, Tom, because I did that.
That's right, you played with it
in reverse. I did the Z2, and when I was doing the Z2, the S5 came in for my review, so I had them.
Excellent.
Brief overlap. So I'll be interested to hear what Tom, if he has sort of some of the same ideas I had about it.
So
I'll
we'll
be doing a video review of that. Not so much of showing devices, but more of me explaining in more greater detail.
So we'll be able to see a comparison between both of you guys. Excellent. All right. So we have a couple of updates this week, especially when it comes to ROM updates. Omni got the 4.4.3 release as well. And that also CyanogenMod has now merged the 443 into their branch, so they're going to be coming out as nightlies. As well, they've released the monthly stable release 442, so they're calling it the M8, and that's now available. Other device firmware that we do have, the Nexus device is on 443 as well. The Moto X, the G, the E are also on 443.
And for those of you who still haven't got your 443 update on your Nexus,
it's coming.
Remember, it'll be coming, but if you don't want to wait, we have the links on our website of how to do it yourself. It really takes you under, like, if you follow every step and you're already pre-unlocked, it should take you 10 minutes at max, and you'll be up and running.
Yeah, even applying the update, I think applying the update is like 30 seconds to a minute, and then it's done.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge file.
No, it's like 200 megs, I think.
Yeah.
All right, and we've got a couple of updates this week for apps. Nothing really that stands out, but they've been noticeable. We've got Hangouts per contact notification tones, YouTube, full list of resolutions available to you, so you can pick the one you want. Allcast, made a lot of changes to Allcast. They've improved the performance and added extra options for being able to cast different types of file. Maps got updated with the option for Uber. We've got G Plus photos. We can now cast our photos directly from G Plus to our Chromecast. That's going to be fantastic. Haven't played with it yet, but it's coming.
My wife was even in on that. She was like, "This is kind of cool. Look at this."
You guys have been able to do it?
Yeah. No,
awesome.
it works. Allcast. Like, I tried Allcast. It was kind of slow. Whenever Google Plus Photos, that app, not blazing fast, but definitely very responsive. The only downside to it is that it casts only once your files are uploaded to their cloud.
Oh, really?
So if you're not backing up your photos to the G Plus photo albums, it won't cast.
So you're SOL.
Yeah, well, because I got home from we took a bunch of photos and videos, and I got home like, oh, let's watch these pictures. Like, okay, great, but it hadn't uploaded those. So it would say photo not available yet, and then we go to the next one, and it's working. But by the time you would go back, it had already uploaded, and it was fine.
Okay.
Videos just took a little bit to upload and get onto that thing, but other than that, it works. I was very surprised I wouldn't say responsive, but how quickly it actually worked and loaded up.
Oh, that's cool. So, oh, that's pretty sweet. I'll actually have to try that later on. And if we keep going, I don't think we have too much more. We get Netflix post-show, playbooks with the upload EPUB and PDF style format. Copy now allows you to cast. What's that all about? We can cast from Copy now?
Yeah, so if you have files in your Copy folder, you can actually view and then cast to
Interesting.
Chromecast. Yeah,
I'm wondering if Dropbox is going to actually do that as well.
Well, you never know.
I can stream from it, but I know I can't cast at this point.
Yeah, so just to give some context, Netflix, the app update on Netflix, the post show, the idea is if you're watching on the computer, you know, when you watch an episode and it's like, oh, the next episode is playing in 9 seconds,
yeah.
You just leave it and it'll watch. It does that now on the app as well. So before it used to be, oh, finish this app, and you'd have to go back to browse and then hit the next button.
Awesome, I hated that.
So on the tablets, on the phones,
okay.
It automatically just jumps to the next
My
one.
wife was watching Pokemon and stuff. We had to keep going back to the menu. I love this.
Well, I've already almost finished the Orange is the New Black season, so yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good. All right, and do we have a tip of the week?
No, we're going to do tip of the week next week. But I do want to say one thing I just got notice of now on the email, and I went deadly silent for a few seconds there. Because you guys know me, I'm a a cloud fan, and my favorite cloud storage option has been CX. I don't know if you guys have been following that. My favorite has been CX. CX has just decided they're going to be no more. At the end of the month, they're having you to kill all your files, so they're gone.
And just a comment on CX, I've been getting 2 emails, one today and one yesterday. They want me to join their special program for cloud sourcing.
For CX?
For CX specifically.
Yeah, because they're telling me my account's going to go bye-bye.
Yeah, the account's going to go bye-bye, but that's what I told them. I'm like, I'm Canadian. You're not offering your service to us. And
well, no, they already did that because they already moved us over to another copy,
Yep.
another company, and how to fight with it to get it back onto CX.
Yeah, they've moved me,
They moved me back.
but problem is my account will be terminated because I'm non-U.S. resident.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that they're telling me now. Well, they're not telling me it's being turned because I'm a non-U.S. resident. They actually are going to a business only.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was like, so I haven't replied back, but I've been asking a couple questions. We'll see what comes out of it.
Yeah, I gotta talk to them anyway because that's my favorite.
And on a different note, I'm going to be writing up an article for the summer that's coming up for people that are on the go, that need to juice up, and that are always running around. So I'm going to be having an article on that. And as well is Tilt offered to send me the Energy Plus backpack that they have. So I'll be able to review that as well.
Nice.
So that's going to be interesting. I've been wanting to put my hands on that for a while because it's $200. And I'm like, it's kind of a hefty price for $200, but I really want to try it out. So they've agreed to send one over, and
Nice.
they were quite happy with your article, Ryan.
I felt actually because when I talked to them last, they're like, oh yeah, looking at items for people, like, oh, what would you want to try out? And I felt a little guilty suggesting that the expensive backpack, and so I think I was like, well, I like the backpack, but it's okay. I'll try something else. I always feel bad asking for the expensive ones and stuff, but no, I'm very interested as well because it's the summer. I spend more time outside in the summer, so
Yep.
it is something like that can be really helpful. That's because I go, biking or hiking or whatever. I'm always having a backpack with me. Usually, I usually keep my Tilt power charger or whatever charger with me wherever I go. So that's built into the backpack. That'd be cool.
Reviewing expensive items is actually where you want to be, though. Not just because you get to review the good stuff, but because as a consumer, taking myself for example, if I see an item for $200 and I know nothing about it, I'm not really going to hover over that buy button and buy it until I get some proof that this is a great product. So when I have a credible source like Ryan or Martin to say, hey, this rocks, right? And that kind of makes you feel better about dropping so much money on a product. So, I mean, yeah, you kind of feel bad by asking for the expensive stuff, but you're actually doing them more favors than you know. Because, again, expensive phones versus cheap phones. People are going to buy the cheap phones because they don't have that much money, but if you can convince them it's worth it, there you go.
And you save up for like a month or two, and then bam, you get yourself the really nice shiny phone that you wanted, and you're going to actually be more happier than buying that cheaper phone that you were eyeing earlier. All right, so for this week, are we doing the app Coliseum?
No, just because of the timing, we'll skip all that. Apologize. We're sorry, guys, about all the scheduling snafu that happened based on Sunday, whatnot. So
I'm guilty. Guilty as
uh,
charged.
we're all guilty on that one. So but we didn't want to go too long without having the show, so we knew we'd have to do something. So let's just cover the news. We'll try to do maybe sometime later in the week. We'll just do maybe our app Coliseums and articles or something this week. So
And maybe we could do like splits, like 30 minutes here and there for different segments if we can, or maybe make it more interactive if at all possible.
yeah. Well, we have things to discuss here at the
Exactly.
Coliseum. So if you guys have suggestions out there in our viewership, please let us know.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so this brings the end to our hangout for tonight, and we've covered pretty much everything we needed.
I think so.
Quickie.
Yeah, it was a quickie with half an hour and 40 minutes at the most.
I think that's where we should be all the time.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. We've actually done some great time on that. All right, if we're all done, folks, let's say our goodbyes.
All done. Thanks for joining us here at the Coliseum.
Thanks, guys, for stopping in.
Thank you again for stopping by, and you guys have a great week.